The discovery that changed everything, the salvage ship Horizon's Edge drifted through the Kepler asteroid belt like a metal insect searching for treasure among the cosmic debris. Captain Marcus Chun stood at the bridge viewport, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the slow dance of rock and ice outside. At 38, Marcus had spent half his life pulling valuable scrap from the forgotten corners of space, but something about today felt different. "Captain, you need to see this," called Zara Okoffer from her sensor station. The young engineer's dark eyes were wide with excitement, her fingers flying across the holographic displays. "I'm reading something massive buried in Sector 7. The metal signature is off the charts." Marcus moved to her station, studying the readouts with practiced eyes. The object was huge, easily dwarfing their own ship by a factor of 10. But what caught his attention wasn't the size. It was the composition readings. "Zara, run that scan again." "The computer must be malfunctioning." "Already did, Captain. 3 times." Zara's voice carried a mix of wonder and disbelief. "The alloy. Composition matches human manufacturing, but the dating suggests it's over 5,000 years old." "That's impossible, right? Humanity only achieved interstellar flight 400 years ago." Crix, their Vorthan crew member, looked up from his navigation console. The tall, blue-skinned alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he processed the information. "Perhaps your sensors mistake alien wreckage for human construction. My people have explored this region for millennia. We would know of any significant human presence." Marcus ignored the casual dismissal in Crix's tone. The Vorthans, like most alien species, viewed humanity as newcomers to the galactic stage. To them, humans were useful for manual labor and basic services, but certainly not capable of creating anything truly advanced or ancient. "Set course for the object," Marcus ordered, "and prep the excavation equipment. If there's really something that old out there, it could be the find of a lifetime." The Horizon's Edge maneuvered through the asteroid field with careful precision. As they drew closer, their sensors began revealing more details about the buried object. It was wedge-shaped, with clean lines that spoke of purposeful design rather than accidental formation. More importantly, it was intact. "Captain," Zara breathed, her voice barely above a whisper, "I'm detecting power signatures. Faint, but definitely active. Whatever this thing is, it's not completely dead." Marcus felt his heart rate increase. A powered derelict was either a treasure beyond imagination or a tomb waiting to claim the unwary. In his experience, it was usually the latter. Life signs? Negative on biological life, but there's something else. The power readings spike whenever our ship gets closer, like it's responding to our presence. They spent the next 6 hours carefully excavating the ancient vessel from its rocky prison. The asteroid had formed around it over millennia, creating a natural cocoon that had protected it from the ravages of space. As more of the hull emerged, Marcus could make out symbols and markings that were definitely of human origin, though in styles he'd never seen before. "The hull integrity is perfect," Zara reported, running her scanners along the exposed sections. "Whatever this ship is made of, it hasn't degraded at all. And Captain, I'm reading atmosphere inside. Breathable. Atmosphere." Marcus made the decision that would change everything. Prep for boarding. Full environmental suits, and keep the weapons powered, but not targeted. We don't know what we're dealing with. The boarding team consisted of Marcus, Zara, and 2 of their most experienced crew members. They entered through what appeared to be a maintenance hatch, their suit lights cutting through absolute darkness. The corridors inside were wide and tall, built for humans, but somehow grander than anything in the current fleet designs. "The architecture is incredible," Zara murmured, her voice echoing through the comm system. "Look at these walls. The metal seems to flow like liquid, but it's harder than anything in our databases." As they moved deeper into the ship, Marcus noticed something strange. The corridor walls were beginning to show a faint luminescence, as if responding to their presence. Emergency lighting strips that had been dark for millennia flickered too. Life as they passed. The ship is waking up, he said quietly. Whatever powered this thing down, it's starting to reverse. They reached what appeared to be the bridge, and Marcus stopped in amazement. The command center was a marvel of design, with control surfaces that seemed to grow from the deck itself. At the center sat a captain's chair that appeared to be carved from a single piece of crystalline metal. "My God," Zara whispered, "look at the displays." Holographic screens were materializing around them, showing star charts and data streams in languages that were both familiar and alien. Some of the text was in ancient human scripts that Marcus recognized from historical databases, but others used symbols he'd never seen out. As Marcus approached the captain's chair, the entire bridge erupted in soft blue light. The ship's systems hummed to life with a sound like distant thunder. And then, impossibly, a voice spoke. "Welcome home, children of Earth." 3 weeks later, Ambassador Lydia Santos stood in the great assembly of the Galactic Concordance, facing representatives from dozens of worlds. The massive chamber on Nexus Prime could hold thousands, and today it was filled to capacity. Word of humanity's discovery had spread throughout known space, generating reactions ranging from curiosity to outright mockery. Lydia activated the holographic display above the assembly floor. The image of the ancient human ship appeared, slowly rotating to show its impressive dimensions and alien beauty. A murmur ran through the crowd, but it wasn't the respectful awe she had hoped for. High Chancellor Vextar of the Krillian Empire rose from his seat in the front row. The reptilian being's scales gleamed under the chamber lights as he addressed the assembly in his characteristic hissing voice. "Esteemed delegates, we are asked to believe that this primitive species, which barely learned to leave their homeworld yesterday, somehow possessed advanced technology 5,000 years ago. The suggestion is not merely unlikely, it is insulting to our intelligence." Laughter rippled through the Krillian section. The Empire had ruled a third of the galaxy for over 2 millennia, their technology so advanced that they viewed most other species as barely civilized. The idea that humans might have ancient achievements was clearly absurd to them. Commander Thane of the Hegemony stood next, his mechanical augmentations gleaming as he spoke. The cyborg's voice was cold and precise. "The Hegemony has analyzed the provided data. While the vessel is indeed ancient, there is no evidence of truly advanced technology. What the humans have found is likely a derelict from some extinct species, misidentified due to their limited understanding of galactic history." More laughter followed, this time from multiple species. The Hegemony's databases contained records spanning tens of thousands of years. If they said the ship wasn't significant, few would argue. Trade, Master Quinn of the Nexari Consortium fluttered his wings dismissively. "Perhaps we could arrange for the humans to display their ancient relic in one of our museums. I'm sure there would be some educational value in showing how primitive species often mistake debris for treasure." The chamber erupted in genuine laughter at this suggestion. Lydia felt her face burn with embarrassment, but she maintained her diplomatic composure. She had expected skepticism, but the level of condescension was worse than anticipated. "Honored delegates," she began again, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. "The ship has demonstrated active systems and technologies that we're still working to understand. We believe this discovery has implications for our understanding of galactic history." High Chancellor Vextar's laugh was like grinding metal. "Active systems? You mean emergency lighting and basic life support. Even our oldest cargo haulers have such features. What you have found, Ambassador Santos, is an ancient wreck. Perhaps useful for studying primitive metallurgy, but hardly the galaxy-changing discovery you claim." The assembly began to break into side conversations, the delegates clearly losing interest. To them, humanity's grand discovery was nothing more than an amusing curiosity, like a child finding a pretty rock and declaring it a precious gem. The Krillian Empire offers to take this burden off human hands. Vextar continued, his tone dripping with false generosity. We have museums that specialize in primitive artifacts. Your find would be properly preserved and studied by those qualified to understand its true nature. The insult was clear to everyone in the chamber. Lydia struggled to maintain her composure as waves of mocking laughter washed over her. The greatest discovery in human history was being dismissed as junk by beings who viewed her entire species as barely competent children. As she gathered her materials to leave the podium, the assembly's communication system crackled with an emergency. Transmission. The voice of General Morrison from Federation Command cut through the chamber like a knife. All stations, we have a situation in the Outer Rim. Unknown vessels have appeared in the Vega system. They're not responding to communications. And they're not in any of our databases. Initial reports suggest they're hostile. The chamber fell silent. Emergency transmissions during assembly sessions were unprecedented. Something was happening in the galaxy, something significant enough to interrupt the most important. Diplomatic gathering in known space. Back in the Kepler asteroid belt, Marcus Chun felt the ancient ship system surge with new energy. The bridge displays now showed tactical information from across the galaxy, tracking movements and energy signatures that shouldn't have been detectable at such range. Captain, Zara called from the engineering station, her voice tight with concern. The ship's weapons systems are coming online, all of them. And Captain, these aren't like anything in our databases. The power readings are impossible, Marcus finished for her, watching as the displays showed energy signatures that dwarfed anything in the current galactic fleet. The ancient voice spoke again, and this time there was urgency in its tone. They have returned as we knew they would. The Void Hunters are coming, and this time they bring their full might. The galaxy's children have grown complacent in the long peace. They have forgotten what lurks in the dark between stars. Marcus gripped the armrests of the captain's chair as understanding began to dawn. This wasn't just an archaeological find. This was a weapon, a guardian left behind by a civilization that had faced something terrible and won, and prepared for the day when that something might return. What are the Void Hunters? He asked, devourers of worlds, enders of life, the shadow that follows light. They consume entire star systems, leaving nothing but emptiness in their wake. We fought them once, long ago, when humanity was young and the galaxy was full of hope. We won, but at great cost. The Guardian fleet was built to watch and wait, to be ready when the darkness returned. On the displays, Marcus could see the first. Reports coming in from the Outer Rim. Entire planets going silent. Fleets disappearing without trace. Whatever the Void Hunters were, they were moving fast and leaving no survivors to tell their story. The ancient ship's weapons were fully active. Now, power readings climbing to levels that should have been impossible. Around the galaxy, in hidden places where asteroids and cosmic dust had concealed them for millennia, other ships were beginning to wake. Humanity's true legacy was stirring, and the galaxy was about to learn that the species they had mocked, as primitive newcomers, had actually been its protectors all along. Marcus Chun, salvage captain turned guardian, felt the weight of destiny settling on his shoulders as the ancient warship prepared for a battle 5,000 years in the making. The aliens who had laughed at humanity's discovery were about to learn why their ancestors had needed humanity to save them once before, and why they would need humanity to save them again. Asterisk. The awakening of the Guardians, the bridge of the ancient. Warship hummed with power that Marcus Chun could feel in his bones. 3 days had passed since the first reports of the Void Hunters, and the galaxy was beginning to understand the true scope of the threat. Entire sectors had gone dark. The hegemony's Seventh Fleet, renowned for its invincibility, had vanished, without sending so much as a distress call. "Captain," Zara called from her station, her voice tight with amazement. "The ship's teaching me. I know that sounds crazy, but every time I touch a control surface, information floods into my mind. Engineering principles that are centuries ahead of anything we understand, but somehow I know how to use them." Marcus nodded grimly. He was experiencing the same phenomenon. The captain's chair had become more than a seat. It was a neural interface that connected him directly to the ship's consciousness. Through it, he could feel the vast network of systems coming online, weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand the death of stars. "The ship has a name," he said, quietly. "She calls herself Prometheus. She's not just a warship. She's alive. The consciousness of every human who ever served aboard her is preserved in her memory core." The main display shimmered, and suddenly they were no longer alone on the bridge. Translucent figures appeared around them, men and women in uniforms that belonged to no current military. They moved with purpose and familiarity, taking positions at control stations as if they had never left. One figure approached Marcus directly. She was tall and proud, with steel-gray hair and eyes that held the weight of command. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of someone who had led fleets across the cosmos. "Admiral Sarah Kane, last commander of the Prometheus," she introduced herself with a crisp salute. "I've been waiting 5,000 years to resume my duties. Captain Shun, I'm here to help you understand what we're facing." Marcus rose from the captain's chair, feeling like an imposter in the presence of such legendary figures. "Admiral, I'm just a salvage captain. I don't know how to fight a galactic war." Kane's expression softened slightly. "Neither did I. When I first took command." The Prometheus chooses her captains not for their experience, but for their character. "You found us when we were needed most. That's not coincidence, Captain. That's destiny." The display changed to show a tactical overview of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas where the Void Hunters had struck, expanding like a plague across star systems. Blue dots indicated the locations of other awakening Guardian ships scattered throughout known space. 7 ships, Kane explained. Prometheus, Defiance, Retribution, Eternal Vigilance, Sword of Terra, Shield of Hope, and Lightning's Edge. Each one contains the accumulated knowledge and experience of humanity's greatest warriors and explorers. Together, we are the Guardian Fleet. Zara looked up from her engineering console, her eyes bright with the knowledge the ship was sharing with her. "Admiral, the power systems are beyond anything I've ever seen. These ships could take on entire fleets single-handed. They were designed to," Kane replied. "The Void Hunters aren't just another alien species, Zara. They're something far worse. They exist in the spaces between dimensions, feeding on the life force of entire civilizations. When they consume a world, they don't just kill everything on it. They erase it from existence, leaving a wound in reality itself." The display zoomed in on the outer rim, showing the path of destruction the Void Hunters had carved through space. Where thriving worlds had once existed, there was now literally nothing. Not debris, not radiation, not even the gravity wells that should have marked planetary positions. It was as if those places had never existed at all. "How did we defeat them before?" Marcus asked. Admiral Kane's expression grew dark. "We didn't defeat them. We drove them back, sealed the dimensional rifts they used to enter our reality, and hoped they would stay gone. The Guardian Fleet was left behind as sentinels, sleeping until the day they returned." On the communications array, priority transmissions were flooding in from across the galaxy. The same species that had mocked humanity's discovery just days before were now frantically calling for help. The Krillian Empire's pride had lasted exactly 12 hours after the Void Hunters reached their borders. High Chancellor Vextar himself was begging for assistance from anyone who could provide it. Incoming transmission from Nexus Prime, Zara announced. It's Ambassador Santos. Lydia Santos appeared on the main display, but she looked nothing like the composed diplomat who had addressed the assembly. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes wrinkled, and her eyes held the haunted look of someone who had seen civilization crumbling. Marcus, thank God. You need to get that ship moving. The Void Hunters have reached the core systems. The hegemony's homeworld is gone. Just gone. As if it never existed. They're saying entire species are being erased from history itself. Admiral Kane stepped into the transmission's range. Ambassador, this is Admiral Sarah Kane of the Guardian Fleet. We're moving to intercept the Void Hunter Vanguard, but we need time to coordinate with the other Guardian ships. Lydia's eyes widened as she took in Kane's archaic uniform and the translucent quality that marked her as something between ghost and memory. Guardian Fleet? Admiral, how many ships do you have? 7, Kane replied simply. 7 ships against an invasion force that numbers in the thousands. The same odds we faced 5,000 years ago. Before Lydia could respond, new alarms began sounding throughout the Prometheus. The tactical display shifted to show massive signatures approaching from deep space. The Void Hunter fleet had arrived in the Kepler system, their ships visible as tears in space itself, dark wounds against the star field. All hands to battle stations, Marcus commanded, feeling the weight of the captain's chair settling around him like armor. The neural interface opened fully, connecting his consciousness to every system on the ship. Suddenly, he could feel the Prometheus like an extension of his own body. Her weapons were his hands, her sensors his eyes, her vast intellect his mind. The enemy ships defied description. They weren't built so much as grown organic curves that twisted space around them. They moved through dimensions, appearing and disappearing at will, leaving trails of absolute darkness in their wake. Void Hunter battle formation detected, Kane announced. They're probing our defenses, trying to understand what they're facing. Captain, we need to show them exactly what humanity is capable of. Marcus felt the ship's weapon systems responding to his will. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids charged to full power. Gravitational manipulators that could bend space itself came online. And at the ship's heart, something that the previous age had called the reality anchor, a device that could prevent the Void Hunters from simply erasing their targets from existence. All Guardian ships are reporting ready status, Zara called out. The others are moving to intercept different elements of the Void Hunter fleet. The first attack came without warning. A dozen Void Hunter vessels materialized around the Prometheus, their weapons tearing at the fabric of space itself. Where their dark beams struck, sections of reality simply ceased to exist. It was a weapon that had never failed to destroy its targets. But the Prometheus was not like other ships. Her shields didn't just deflect energy. They reinforced the structure of reality around the ship, making it impossible for the Void Hunters to erase her from existence. The ancient warship absorbed the assault and returned fire with weapons that blazed like newborn stars. Direct hit on the lead vessel, Kane reported with grim satisfaction. Reality anchor is holding. They can't phase shift while we maintain lock. The Void Hunter ship writhed as the Prometheus's weapons tore into it. For the first time in millennia, the Void Hunters were facing something that could actually hurt them. The creature that served as the ship's consciousness screamed across dimensional barriers as it died, its death cry echoing through the quantum foam that connected all realities. Across the galaxy, other Guardian ships were engaging the Void Hunter fleet with similar results. The Defiance carved through a battle group near the Andorian system, her weapons creating cascades of light that restored erased star systems to existence. The Retribution faced down the Void Hunter's flagship, a creature the size of a moon that had consumed the populations of 100 worlds. But the Prometheus faced something worse. As the smaller Void Hunter vessels retreated, space began to tear open in a wound that stretched across light years. Something vast and ancient began to emerge, a creature so old and powerful that its presence distorted reality for parsecs in every direction. The Devourer Prime, Admiral Kane whispered, her ghostly form flickering with fear and determination. We fought this thing before, but it was smaller then. It's grown, fed on the civilizations between galaxies for 5,000 years. The creature that emerged was beyond description. It existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its true form visible only as shadows and distortions in normal space. Where? It touched reality. Stars went out. Planets became mathematical impossibilities. Entire regions of space became logical contradictions that hurt to perceive. Captain, Zara said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. The other Guardian ships are taking massive damage. The Eternal Vigilance is reporting critical failures across all systems. We're running out of time. Marcus felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. Humanity had been mocked as primitive, dismissed as insignificant, treated like children playing with tools they didn't understand. But now, at the galaxy's darkest hour, they were the only thing standing between civilization and absolute annihilation. He opened the communication channels to every ship, every station, every world that could still receive transmissions. His voice carried across space, reaching the ears of beings who had laughed at humanity's pretensions just days before. This is Captain Marcus Chun of the human guardian ship Prometheus. To every species that called us primitive, every government that dismissed us as insignificant, every being that mocked our achievements, you were wrong. Humanity has been the galaxy's protector for 5,000 years. We built these ships not for conquest, but to stand guard in the darkness between stars. We are the guardians you forgot you needed, and we will not let you fall. The Prometheus surged forward, her reality anchor blazing with power that reached across dimensions. The other Guardian ships followed, their weapons creating a symphony of light that pushed back the darkness. For the first time in eons, the Void Hunters faced an enemy that was not just their equal, but their superior. The battle raged across multiple dimensions, reality itself becoming the battlefield. But humanity's ancient guardians held firm, there, weapons reaching into the spaces between universes to strike at creatures that existed beyond normal comprehension. When the Devourer Prime finally fell, its death scream shattered dimensional barriers across the galaxy. The surviving Void Hunters fled back to their dark realm, sealing the pathways behind them. The immediate threat was over, but the galaxy had been forever changed. In the aftermath, as refugee fleets limped back to their rescued worlds, a new understanding spread across the stars. Humanity was not the newcomer species they had appeared to be. They were the oldest guardians of galactic civilization, the protectors who had sacrificed everything to keep the darkness at bay. High Chancellor Vextar's message to Earth was brief and humble. The Krillian Empire formally apologizes for our earlier statements. We owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid. How may we serve? Similar messages poured in from across the galaxy. The species that had mocked humanity's discovery were now begging to learn from the teachers they had dismissed as students. But Marcus Chun, salvage captain turned guardian of the galaxy, was already looking toward the far reaches of space where sensors detected other ancient ships stirring to life. The Guardian fleet had been just the beginning. Humanity's true legacy was awakening throughout the cosmos, and the galaxy would never again make the mistake of underestimating the species that had chosen to be its eternal protectors. The age of humanity's hidden guardianship was over. The age of their acknowledged leadership had begun. Asterisk.